In a small coal mining town in West Virginia, a man named Jesse, who is a bit down on his luck. His wife left him and took his daughter for a man named Dillard, who, despite the fact of being a police officer, is not exactly has his own dark secrets. Despite the fact that he is a talented songwriter and is encouraged by everyone to turn in his music so he could start a career, he's never had the courage to do it, viewed by others or just a flat-out loser. Then something happened near his home. A chase was happening. Some guy in a Santa Claus outfit is running from these devil people as he observed them. And in the midst of his escape, a sack was dropped. He knows this sack, as he reaches in, can get him all sorts of toys or any other item he could think of. So he tries to take advantage of this, especially to help please his daughter with a doll and all that, and make a few bucks off these ruthless guys, sort of like a mob in town. But that got him into more trouble. And the people who were chasing the Santa Claus, these devil people, catch up with him and take him in the sack to their master, Krampus. And apparently these devil people are his servants, the Belsnickles. He gets caught in an act of revenge that Krampus claims he needs to deal against the Santa Claus, who is not all he seems. This is just a summation at the beginning of this book by Brom, Krampus the Yule Lord. It's a nice dark fantasy, contemporary times. And this was published back in 2012, Harper Voyager. I know I don't always say the publishers, but some people might be interested. And Brom originally was he's a fantasy illustrator, and still is. He did a lot of his work in role-playing games in his early days, especially Dungeons & Dragons, like this one right here for the Dark Sun campaign. Always loved this picture here. Me and a friend of mine always thought that his work really helped define this campaign world, kind of like Mad Max with magic instead of nuclear bombs. But he's also done other stuff within Dungeons & Dragons and other role-playing games as well. He did Ravenloft, a few pictures of there, also did some Planescape, but when he went freelance, he still did his own independent art. He has a couple of art books where it's just all his prints and all that stuff, but lately in the last few years, he's been a writer. He writes his own stuff and he illustrates it, and Krampus is an example of this. He did a book before this one, The Child Thief, which is his dark take on Peter Pan, and he's done at least two children's books, well, I would say children's books, but sort of like children's books if they were made for adults, right? Again, he's done all the illustrations. And this one himself, if you've seen the slideshow there, that's all the, the pictures on that. Those are the internal plates that you can find in the middle here, the fully colored ones. Let's see if I can find, again, they're inside here, fully colored. But at the beginning of each chapter is his own pen and ink drawing, and it shows possible events of what was about to happen in the story. I won't spoil it too far into. But yes, a very good read. I definitely enjoy this. The guy has always been a talented artist, but he can also tell a decent story, and his artwork complements it. Now, I don't think, not all stories have to be illustrated, of course, but if it is illustrated, it should tell you the tone and atmosphere about this. So like I said, it's a nice, good, dark fantasy in contemporary times involving the Christmas spirit of Krampus, who has been gaining popularity, or should I say gaining some notice more in the United States. He's always been known in Europe, and if you go back, he's always been this sort of a goblin-like spirit who would go around door to door, and find out if the kids were naughty, he would punish them, or he may reward them, if they were good, you appease him and give him your leftovers and such, and you find such things like this. But when you read this book, you kind of ask, what's the beef between Krampus and Santa Claus? Well, Santa Claus isn't all who he said he is, and the more you find out, you could probably understand why Santa Claus is who he is. But to give you an idea of how far back it goes, Santa Claus was able to summon 2 giant wolves and 2 ravens. I'll leave it at that. If you look back in mythology, and you probably get an idea of who that, what pantheon it might be. But again, if you like stuff like this, especially if you're a horror fan and like something in the vein of Guillermo del Toro, you might want to check this out. Hey, it's the holidays coming up, You know, and by the way, this is not in relation to the Krampus movie that's coming out in, you know, the 2015 film that just came out a few days ago. That's, you know, that's just another example of the more notoriety that's happening with the character Krampus these days. So yes, check it out, Krampus the Yule by Brom, and check out his other stuff as well. You know, I thought that what the others I've read, and I always loved his artwork, very worth looking into. All right, thank you very much. Y'all have a nice evening.